Hey guys, Gatsu here, bringing you my first video in a while. Today I'm bringing you my second original English light novel, that being Rebirth of the Undead King. This is volume 1 or book 1. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you to Ink Bamboo, the author, for sending me this review copy. And before I get into the story and everything, I do just want to quickly go over the kind of layout and print of the book. So firstly, I love this cover. The artwork is so nice, and unfortunately the spine of mine is slightly misprinted, you see, so the blackness doesn't take up the whole spine, but I think the spine looks really nice as well. The back is a little bit plain, but it does what it needs to do. So I really like how this book looks, and it feels really nice as well. It's got like a nice matte print to it. The way the book's laid out is obviously chapters, and I do like the, as you can see, the kind of text that's used, the font, and the way that chapters are laid out. So you obviously got chapter number and the subtitle of the chapter as well, which is really cool. So yeah, I think the layout of this is really nice, really good, one of the best. There is one thing that I don't like, is that it is a bit bigger than like a light novel volume, which for me isn't preferable because it doesn't kind of sit nicely with the rest of my light novels. But obviously it's not the end of the world. It's still a very nice looking book. So what this is about, I just wanted to mention that quickly, just because I know that's important to me. It's something that I care about, you know, the presentation of the book itself. So I thought I'd mention that for anyone else that, you know, is also so inclined. So this is about a boy named Zaros and a god named Amro. So Amro is the god of death. He's the undead king, as the title suggests. And the book starts with a prologue chapter. I really enjoyed this prologue chapter, and what this chapter does is introduces you to Amro and the pantheon of the gods. And it basically just explains that they're at war, and Amro, the god of death, ends up being betrayed by the god of life, who then kills him. But luckily he's stored away some of his power into this kind of device. Now, then the story moves on to the main story in the kingdom of Nyx, where we follow Zaros, who is this teenage boy. I think he's about 13, 14. He's an orphan. He grew up in this village. Kind of everyone in this village kind of helps each other out, you know. He is very lonely. The other kids don't really like him, but he does, you know, learn things from people in the village. And basically, there's a rebellion going on in the northern end of the kingdom. And so the king, or the prince even, decides that he wants to wipe out the southern kingdoms to stop the villages on the southern end of the kingdom, so that they don't have to fight a rebellion on two fronts, because they think that there's a conspiracy for the rebels to start at the south as well. So Zaros is in said southern kingdom, basically gets attacked, escapes into this massive forest, and finds Amro. He's on the edge of death, and Amro basically makes a deal with him. If you want power, I can give you power. And yeah, they basically kind of, Amro's soul kind of goes into Zaros' body, and we kind of go from there. So it's a bit of a two people in one body kind of thing. It gets a bit schizophrenic. And I think that's where this book starts to shine, is the relationship between Amro and Zaros and the back and forth between them in Zaros' head. I will say, so this book is set up into, I'd say it's broken. You can break it up into 3 arcs. There's about 30 chapters plus the prologue, epilogue, and a side story. And I'd say each, like, 10 chapters can be broken up into an arc, into 3 arcs. So the first arc is all about, you know, the village, Zaros finding Amro and kind of them joining together, getting used to being with each other. The second is all about their rise to power in this new town that they find called Sol, I'm pretty sure, S-O-L. And then the third is about the an attack on Sol. And I feel that the first story arc it feels quite slow. I think the author does spend a lot of time kind of over-explaining a little bit. And obviously a lot of this is done to set up for later volumes, and I will admit that there is stuff in these early chapters that pay off towards the end of the book. I just think that when I was reading it and when I was, trying to get into it, I was struggling a bit at first because it felt kind of slow and a bit over-explained. Like in each chapter, not much was really happening. It wasn't really going anywhere within a small amount of chapters. But once we get out of that and you kind of get established to the main dynamic and the main two characters, and they go to this town of Seoul, I think that's where the book really starts to shine. So it's they go to this town. The town is set up into 4 or 5 regions even. You've got the north, east, south, west, and the centre. The west is I believe it's the west. One of the sides, I think it's the west, is the slums. You've got commoners that live at the top and the bottom, and then in the north and the south even, and then the east is the nobles, and in the centre is kind of where everyone can kind of convene. That's kind of like the business district. But in the slums, it's all kind of like homeless people. Criminals, thugs. They have to steal to survive and all this, and that's where Zaros goes in, and basically some things occur where he ends up finding the head honcho. Amro takes over, shows off, takes out the leader, and essentially, long story short, becomes the leader of this gang. And this leads to some really interesting moments, where Amro and Zaros disagree on how they should, what they should do with the gang, how they should use the resources and whatever. And it leads to a really, really interesting conflict. So I think the action sequences in this story are done really well. There's a nice balance of action and like plot progression, and when it actually gets to the action, it feels really grand and important, and I really like that as well. I know I found kind of the end towards the end of this arc really interesting and really exciting, and made me want to keep reading. So I really enjoyed that. I probably enjoyed that middle arc the most out of all 3, and yeah, it introduces some new interesting characters as well. And then the third arc is an interesting one as well, because it does something quite different. So I feel like all 3 of the arcs are quite different to each other. And I feel that in the third arc, it's all about these kind of misguided followers of Amro who are trying to find him. One of which is a necromancer, and they basically attack the town to try and find Amro's leftover power, which is obviously inside of Zaros. And basically, it's so they attack, and this attack is kind of where a lot of the stuff pays off from the beginning of the book. I won't go so far as to spoil that. But yeah, no, I feel like it comes to a nice crescendo at the end. There's a big kind of conflict at the end, and it ends on a nice note where it's like, it feels satisfying and complete, but obviously it also sets up for the next volume and where the adventure's going to go. So yeah, I did really enjoy this overall. I do like there's kind of this rank system to do with magic. You have mana and aura, and when you rank up your body's I don't even know what the word would be, tolerance, I guess, and need for this, you kind of you grow a stage of power, and that's why you get like unranked people and then rank 1, rank 2, and so forth. And I really like that aspect as well, and it kind of solidifies. You can use it to kind of gauge people's power and that. So I really like that. Yeah. Overall, I did really like this book. It did have its issues. I will also say that there are a few more editing mistakes than you know, would be preferable. Obviously, with original English light novels, a lot of them are self-published and a lot of them are kind of self-edited as well. So you do expect some mistakes, but there was some like formatting errors where either there was, you know, the lack of a gap between words, or too many gaps between words, or as in like spaces, or occasionally there was like words that were missing as well, so you kind of had to fill in the blanks yourself. Overall though, I think the book is really well done, really well made. These slight issues with editing can make it feel a little amateurish at times, but overall I think it is a really good book and it's a really good read, and definitely if you can get past that, which I'm sure most people can, it's not the end of the world. There is a really good, really interesting story here to read, and I was really excited about this when I got the opportunity to review it, because it straight away, listening to the title, Rebirth of the Undead King, sounds right up my alley. Again, I say this in like every video, Berserk is my favourite series, I love dark fantasy, so Rebirth of the Undead King sounds right up my alley, and I was not disappointed. I am looking forward to picking up the next volume and seeing where things go. So I will leave a link in the description to the Amazon page. You can buy this on Amazon. I don't think it's available anywhere else, but Amazon is obviously widespread. Amazon's like the largest company in the world. So I'll definitely leave a link to that in the description. But yeah, check it out if you're into like dark fantasy. I think overall, on Goodreads, I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. But I was hesitant to do that. I did want to give it a 5, but I thought, obviously it's not perfect. I mean, nothing's perfect, but I think because of that first arc feeling a bit slow and a bit clunky, it took it down a little bit, but I would definitely recommend reading this. I really, really enjoyed this. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. As I said, you can find this in the link down below. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. If you like, I will be doing more original English light novel reviews in the future, so definitely if you like these, subscribe and let me know as well, because that would be appreciated. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.